Whenever you're doing a story problem, you read through it, whatever the questions are, those are your variables. So in this particular one, we have two people, Alan and Elena, and we want to know their ages. So we have E is Elena's age and A is Alan's age. If you're on the state test, defining the variables gives you a point. I understand when you're doing your homework, sometimes you're like, I don't need to do that. But just remember, please, that if you are on the state test, that should be your first step because it is an easy point. Okay, and don't just say E is Elena. You're like, Elena is what? So it's just be really specific and that'll give you an easy point. Okay, so then the next thing is, however many things you don't know, that's how many equations you need. So since there's two unknowns, we need to create two equations. So looking for ways to create equations, Alan is 5 years younger than Elena, and also the sum of their ages is 59. So let's start with the easy one here. The sum of their ages, so Elena plus Alan equals 59. Okay, then this one here, Alan is 5 years younger than Elena. We kind of like to, as we read it, start writing it, but I find that sometimes that can be a little tricky on these ones. Instead, maybe think of which one is the bigger number, Elena or Alan. Alan is 5 years younger. So if Alan is 5 years younger, then big number minus small number equals big number minus 5 is going to be the small number. So if Alan is 5 years younger, if I take Elena's age and I take off 5, I should get to the younger person. It would be fine if you decided, even though it says younger, and you wanted to say that the younger person plus 5 is the older person's, that equation also works. It doesn't matter which one. Okay, so now that I have my two equations, we're going to use substitution because you can't solve an equation when there's more than one variable in it. So I either need an equation with all A's or all E's. A is already by itself here, so I'm going to come in and replace this A right here with E minus 5. Okay, finishing solving this, E plus E is 2 E's minus 5. I don't need those parentheses there anymore, so we have 2E. Then add 5 to both sides. 2E equals 64. Divide both sides by 2, and I end up with 32. Then we can come over here. We're going to substitute 32 into this equation. So E minus 5 becomes 32 minus 5. And I end up with 27. So Elena's 32 and Alan's 27. Again, defining your variables is going to get you a point. And so as you read through here, whatever you don't know, your questions, those become your variables. And in this particular case, we want to know how many hamburgers were sold and how many cheeseburgers were sold. So the first thing I'm going to do is define my variables. H is the number of hamburgers that were sold, and C is the number of cheeseburgers that were sold. Whenever there's two variables, you need to create two equations. So reading through to create these equations, the combined total of the sale of hamburgers and cheeseburgers is $564. So that means that the number of hamburgers plus the number of cheeseburgers is 564. Okay, then my other one, the number of cheeseburgers, so that'd be C, was, so equals 3 times the number of hamburgers, so 3 times H. Okay, cheeseburgers is 3 times as many hamburgers. Now that I have my two equations, we're going to go in and make a substitution because we need an equation that has all H's or all C's. So let's replace this C with 3H. Okay, so making that substitution. Again, everything's the same, just gonna turn that C into a 3H. Then H plus 3 H's, we have H plus 3 H's is going to be 4H. Divide both sides by 4, and I end up with 141 hamburgers. Now we're gonna take that 141 and substitute it into this equation here. So cheeseburgers is 3 times the hamburgers. So cheeseburgers is 3 times 141. So I have 423.